College football winners, losers in Week 5, superstar WRs come into focus. Do you know, college football's Week 5 was everything fans dream of. Chaos, drama, and new stars rising under the brightest lights. 3 top 5 teams fell on the same day. Alabama stunned Georgia to announce its comeback, and Penn State's heartbreak reignited questions about James Franklin's big game woes. But the real show belonged to the wide receivers, turning fields into highlight reels with jaw-dropping catches and game-changing plays. From miracle finishes to shocking collapses. Week 5 wasn't just another Saturday. It was a reminder that in college football, every snap can rewrite the season. Chaos, clutch plays, and wide receiver stars. The story of Week 5 in college football. This past weekend's college football slate delivered exactly the kind of turbulence pundits warn about. Upsets, late bullets, and rising stars. After 5 weeks, the picture is still forming, and the margins between contender and pretender are razor thin. Week 5 reshuffled the map in dramatic fashion. Multiple top 25 teams fell, new stars took center stage, and several programs were forced to reassess their trajectories. Upsets, close calls, and a shifting landscape. One of the biggest stories of Week 5 was the fall of multiple highly ranked teams. As CBS Sports noted, 3 AP Top 5 teams lost on the same day, the earliest that's happened since 2008. Georgia, Penn State, and others fell in shockers, and more than half a dozen ranked teams survived by only 1 score. Alabama, unheralded entering many preseason forecasts, re-emerged as a bona fide threat by knocking off number 5 Georgia, 24-21. Quarterback Ty Simpson played perhaps his best game of the season, tossing 2 touchdowns and carving up defensive seams to deliver a clutch road win in Athens. That victory snapped Georgia's recent dominance over the Crimson Tide under new leadership and signaled that Alabama may be back in the national conversation. Meanwhile, Penn State's collapse in a double overtime loss to Oregon continued to raise eyebrows about head coach James Franklin. ESPN, via CBS, points out Franklin is now 2-21 all-time versus AP top 6 opponents, one of the worst such records in FBS history. That kind of stat haunts a program that once had serious playoff aspirations. On the flip side, the Ducks, under the radar earlier in the season, are quietly making a case for themselves in the upper echelon. Other teams weren't so fortunate. Arkansas, on the losing end of a 56-13 drubbing at Notre Dame, might already be circling the wagons. The Razorbacks gave up 641 total yards, with Irish quarterback C.J. Carr and running back Jeremiah Love torching Arkansas's defense. Coach Sam Pittman, whose name has been floated near the hot seat, admitted there's reason for fan frustration. At Florida State, more clouds gathered. After opening with upward momentum, the Seminoles fell in a double overtime heartbreaker to Virginia, 46-38. The defense looked vulnerable, especially against the run, and Chandler Morris of Virginia scored 5 touchdowns in the win. Suddenly, what once looked like a promising season now feels like it hangs by a thread. If there's a silver lining for FSU, it's that wide receiver play across college football is entering a new stratosphere. The wide receivers' takeover, Week 5, wasn't just about upsets. It was about showtime for wide receivers. As multiple analyses stress, the WR position lit up the scoreboard and the narrative. Jordan Tyson of Arizona State hauled in 8 catches for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns, including a walk-off score to knock off TCU. Makai Lemon of USC nearly delivered a miracle, finishing with 11 receptions, 151 yards, and 2 scores. His would-be game winner was swallowed up when Illinois capped a late drive to win. Emmanuel Henderson, Kansas, turned in a monster day, eclipsing 200 receiving yards, the first such performance by a Jayhawk since 2017. Chris Bell, Louisville, asserted himself as a go-to target, catching 10 passes for 135 yards and a touchdown. Meanwhile, KC Concepcion, in place of the injured Mario Craver, got loose with 7 catches for 113 yards for Texas A&M. And while these names were turning heads this week, they're hardly isolated cases. Across the country, defenders are scrambling to adjust as offenses lean harder into passing schemes and tempo. The WR renaissance is real, and its effects are far-reaching. Other big winners and losers. In the face of upsets, a few programs stood tall. Cincinnati, long dogged by close-game demons under coach Scott Satterfield, shook those narratives with a thrilling 37-34 34 win over Kansas. Quarterback Brendan Sorsby flirted with magic, 388 passing yards, 52 on the ground, and 2 scores, before capping the drive with a game-winning run from Tawi Walker. That kind of grit win might reshape the Bearcats' identity. Iowa State also turned heads, shellacking Arizona 39-14. Quarterback Rocco Becht rushed for 3 touchdowns and helped build a dominant early lead. In a week littered with close calls, the Cyclones' clear win stood out. Survival was its own kind of triumph. Teams like Indiana, Georgia Tech, Ohio State, and Illinois squeaked through tight contests to maintain their momentum. Ohio State, in particular, rebounded from a rough first half to grind out a 24-6 victory over Washington, keeping control of its Big Ten narrative. On the flip side, LSU's offense faltered under pressure in a 24-19 loss to Ole Miss. The Tigers couldn't run the ball, failed to sustain drives, and couldn't overcome early deficits. Their offensive limitations are becoming more than just talking points. They're a liability. NC State also took a beating, losing 23-21 to Virginia Tech after allowing over 400 yards of offense, even to a team off to a rough start. Coach Dave Duran will hear about that performance well beyond the week it happened. Ripples in the rankings and the road ahead. Week 5's madness kicked the AP Top 25 poll into flux. Teams that were comfortably ranked have wobbled under pressure, while underdogs have surged into national conversations. The playoff picture remains volatile. Oregon, Alabama, Ohio State, and Washington now look like genuine threats. The teams above them may be looking over their shoulders. For many, Week 5 was the inflection point. It deepened the Heisman conversation, too. WRs like Tyson, Henderson, Lemon, Bell, and others are now in the mix, their gaudy stat lines backed up by team relevance. In a season where offensive fireworks often decide outcomes, those players may carry their squads deeper into the fall. Meanwhile, coaches now face stern questions. Franklin's tenure, Pittman's grip on Arkansas, Satterfield's opportunity for redemption. All of it depends on how the narrative evolves from this pivotal weekend. As the season barrels forward, matchups loom where the storylines will only sharpen. Will Alabama ride momentum into the SEC gauntlet? Will Oregon break through to elite status? Can Florida State dig itself out from a dire spiral? And how many more WRs will explode into the national consciousness? The best part, we don't yet know all the answers. But after Week 5, the drama is richer and the stakes higher than ever.